Well, it's been an action-packed day here at the 12th Annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival put on by Circle. And I'm Michael Stone, your host. I'm with John Muir Laws, otherwise known as Jack. Jack, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. I've been having a wonderful day.
Beautiful. Jack is an artist, a writer, a teacher, an illustrator, and I just learned more in the last 2 minutes talking to him than probably the whole day. So we're talking about presence and about art and about learning about nature. And the first thing is about seeing. Tell us a little bit about seeing. How do you help people go into nature and see things so they really get an in-depth look at something?
The poet Mary Oliver said in one of her poems, she said, "Let me keep my mind on what matters," which is mostly standing still and learning to pay attention. And paying attention is actually a very, very difficult thing to do. If anybody's ever tried to meditate and focus on something, you realize that you're constantly distracted. And research that we now have on distraction shows us that easily half of the time, when we think we're focusing on something, we're actually focusing on all these other sorts of things. And we'll often observe things to the point where we can identify them, and then our brain snaps over to the next thing. It says, okay, I've got it identified. And then it goes, you've probably seen bird watchers do this, and people go, oh, that's beautiful, look. Oh, and then somebody says, that's a Lasley bunting, and they go, oh, Lasley bunting, what's this over here?
Yeah.
And that, if you label it, then your brain jumps on. But there's an infinite amount of beauty and wonder and mystery in even the most common things that are around us all the time, that if we can train ourselves to slow down and pay more attention, we can tap into that. Like, you've been sitting next to this bouquet of flowers all day, I'm guessing. And unless you really direct your attention there, you're not going to notice what is going on. So you got a flower.
Yep.
And I got a flower. I'm going to show you an incredibly powerful trick to increase your observational skills. And I'm going to put on my glasses because these eyes are now...
Been observing too much,
Yeah,
huh?
Too much observing. So one really powerful trick, if you just look hard at it, I think that looking hard at something is sort of a meaningless expression. Like, what does that mean? You're supposed to let go.
And your eyes dart around, too.
You're just like going to squint. So how do you get yourself to drop into really relational observing with something? And a very powerful way to do this is just simply, as you're looking at whatever the subject is, every little observation that comes, kind of crystallizes in your head, you're going to say it out loud. For instance, these have the little green tube on the back that then goes to what I'm guessing is the ovary that turns dark green, so there's a color shift there. Then out on the blossoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's a platform of 6 kind of symmetrical ones here. And then this cluster of really disorganized, fractured, chaotic material coming out the middle of this flower. The stuff in the center has, so what I'm doing is I'm just, whatever comes into my awareness.
You're saying what you're seeing.
You say what you see.
Yeah.
So, and what's really powerful about this is if you're just looking at it, you might notice something, but your brain will really quickly wipe the slate clean of whatever it was that you were looking at. And your brain goes, okay, that's not essential for my survival. I'm not going to keep that. So you might look at something. Have you ever gone up to somebody at a party and the person says, hi, my name's Jack. Mm-hmm. And then a minute later you're thinking,
what was their name?
What was their name?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
all the time that happens.
All the time. So if what you do is you say, oh, Jack, it's nice to meet you, Jack. Mm-hmm. The process of saying, Jack, it's nice to meet you, Jack, gets your brain to dance with those words, those syllables, in a way that's going to help you hold that in your memory. But it's not thinking, Jack, it's actually saying it out loud. When I have to say it out loud, I need to activate, first kind of take an observation, crystallize that as a unique observation in my head, activate my motor neurons that operate my mouth, get my tongue and lips to make this noise. I feel myself saying it. I then hear myself saying this thing. That activity actually takes this observation and locks it into the fabric of my long-term memory. And
now another technique you use, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I'm really interested in the asking questions part of bringing you more present into what you're seeing and looking at.
So the way I start is just with this stream of consciousness, observation, observation, observation. And you can do this with people when you're riding on a bus, and people think you're crazy, but that's okay. But you'll
You don't have
just
to
start.
say them out loud.
But no, actually saying it out loud makes a huge difference. If you just
Really?
yeah, when you're actually physically saying it out loud, that's going to really make you engage with each thought and help you lock it into your head. So the next step is to is to make yourself more curious about the universe that you are living in. And the way that you can do this is be really conscious and hunt for questions about what you're seeing. So don't just sort of take it on face value, yes, here's the flower, but get yourself to ask why, how, when, what. You know, all these sorts of questions are going to get your brain to, so for instance, in this one, I'm wondering, you know, when I think of like narcissus flowers and daffodils and things, the part in the center is really, really clearly defined and nicely structured. This has this chaotic middle. I'm wondering, is this some sort of mutant from a horticultural variety of it? You know, what are these little structures that are in here? Are these modified stamen or petals?
And what's their purpose? And you know, do they catch water? Those kinds of things. These are amazing things. We don't have a whole lot of time, Jack, but I'd like you to tie this into our theme now. And that theme is inspiration and empowerment of people. So here we are at the largest environmental film festival in the world, and we want to know, how can we use these techniques to be a better activist and be more empowered and inspired?
So these techniques actually are really important specifically for that. Because when you do this, you go out for a walk in the woods and you start using these techniques, you are going to notice so much more around you. It is such a richer experience being out there. It allows you to be present, to get rid of the chatter in your head and focus on the moment where you are. And that, as a naturalist, that as an activist, that as somebody just taking a stroll with their child, refreshes and renews you. And we need to regularly drink from that clean well of inspiration from nature to help us in this long-term work of stewardship of the earth. You can, sometimes the things that we are struggling with weigh so heavily on us that we can get burnout, activist burnout. And a very powerful way of protecting ourselves from that is to regularly renew ourselves in nature, to go out into the woods, into the mountains, into the field, into the vacant lot behind yourself. Get yourself to slow down and pay attention to a miracle that has been developing for millions of years, something that you may have walked past a million times, and all of a sudden you are noticing more. It's a little doorway to appreciating beauty. That renews us, that revitalizes us, and it's that love of this beautiful, incredible earth that gives us the strength to do the stewardship work that we do. If you're just always in there fighting, and not renewing yourself in beauty, in wonder, we can't be in it for the long term. So we're going to
have to wrap it up. Last statement for this. Yeah, tell me the last part.
All right. So I'm just saying that for people who are working in the calling of stewardship of the earth, that sometimes we feel like I don't have time to, in my busy day, to get out and spend some time in nature. I would say that we don't have time not to, because we need to be in this for the long term. We are doing this work for our children, our grandchildren, and all the creatures that are not as directly related to us, for the newts, for the bugs, for the redwood trees. And we need to be in this fight, this work, for the long term. And renewing ourselves in beauty connects us with the roots of why this is important. And that's my thought for the day.
John Muir Laws, Jack, it's great to have you. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted and honored to be here.
Jack and Michael Stone from the 12th Annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival. Thanks so much.
Go play in nature.